Greg Berhalter has selected what is a 27-man roster for the 3 upcoming October qualifiers against Jamaica, at Panama, against Costa Rica. And we're here to break it down. You get on social media, and people get really riled up about who's on and who's off. And there really isn't anyone. I mean, people are screaming about Julian Green, and I don't know what to tell you. I would put it this way. This is a tough team to crack. And side note here, when we look at the 8 teams remaining from CONCACAF, and this is going to mess with the other teams, because when Costa Rica and all the teams, with the exception, even including Mexico, you know who they're going to pick. It's pretty standard. And then the U.S. team, which didn't have available Christian Pulisic and Gio Reyna, these coaches are waiting as well to see who's selected so they can game plan against this team. Do they prepare for Pulisic, who in the end wasn't fit? And you also add the UK-Britain red list travel restrictions. I don't think that really played into here. There were Premier League players who made this roster, and they won't play probably in that Panama game, which is on the red list. That includes Anthony Robinson and Tim Ream and a couple others. But you got to balance it pretty well. But I think some players from England didn't get on this team because of that. Ethan Horvath, so Sean Johnson comes in and is part of the 3 goalkeepers. By the way, how fortunate are we to have Matt Turner? Zach Steffen's not playing. There's no way we could feel confident throwing him into the deep end of the pool here when he hasn't played for Manchester City. He's got to get on another team. Thank goodness for Matt Turner. He wipes away a lot of not indiscretions, but he wipes away a lot of shortcomings. So, excuse me, it's really hot here. And I'm getting heated up talking about this. But look, this is a good roster. And people are screaming about some of these young players like, Julian Green's not a super young player, or Joe Scally, who I would have liked on this team. Experience matters. Comfort matters. And I think what Greg Berhalter discovered in those last 3 qualifiers is that he wants to put guys that he feels comfortable playing. This isn't now a place where guys learn on the ropes. This, though, is the Soccer OG. Check out the Soccer OG podcast. Got one there with Adnan Verk. I'm going to be at the El Tráfico game this weekend. We're going to have an extravaganza podcast from there. That'll come out Sunday night. And please subscribe to the Soccer OG. We know you have a lot of great options. There's tremendous content about the U.S. men's national team on YouTube. I watch a lot of it. I think it's great, but I hope you can find a little time to include the Soccer OG as well. So hit the subscribe button. Okay, let's get through here pretty quickly. To finish my thought prior, other teams watch what the U.S. is doing, and they're going to see a roster that is probably not what they expected. We all knew this was going to be a strange selection process because of the injuries, because of there's so many good choices out there. And that's going to mess with these other teams. And I believe that the teams that are deep, and no one's deeper than the U.S., will inherit this space here. Will inherit the qualifiers and get to the World Cup. Let's go through really quickly the groups. Standard with the goalkeepers. Sean Johnson gets in there with Zach Steffen, Matt Turner. Matt Turner is the clear-cut number 1. There's no doubt about that. Defensively, the fullback position continues to be enigmatic. 5 center backs, John Brooks, Mark McKenzie. Chris Richards made it, which was great. He earned it. Miles Robinson and Tim Ream. The fullbacks, we see George Bello, and then Shaq Moore made it. He's not really playing, and he's not in the first division in Spain. I think people want a Joe Scally in there. I want a Joe Scally in there, but I get it. He's 18. He's had 1 good month of his career. Some guys get rewarded for that. Joe Scally did not, but I hope he gets in there by November. But he's going to have to keep starting for Mönchengladbach, which won't be easy, but he's been doing very well. But I feel for Joe Scally. I wanted him on here, and Shaq Moore hasn't really distinguished himself, but I'm not going to get worked up because of that. But the fullback situation, Serginho Dest, who's been hot and cold with Barcelona, and DeAndre Yedlin, who I guess he certainly earned his spot after what happened in Honduras. You look at the fullbacks, the concern here is what has happened with Reggie Cannon and Brian Reynolds. They've gone to Europe, and now they have disappeared, and you can't call them up. These are good players, and we've got to keep an eye on them. I've said that in the past. We'll see what comes of them. But what was a strong position for the U.S. has kind of shrunk a bit. Sam Vines is injured, but that has shrunk a bit, so let's see. Midfielders, congratulations to Luca de la Torre. He made it in. The big news was Weston McKennie, who does get into this. There was a discussion about Weston McKennie when Greg Berhalter was asked about it. He says, this is behind us. And I thought the reaction was excessive when he was going through it really quickly. Yunus Musa gets back in. I think he's going to play. Christian Roldan, Sebastian Lletget. I know people are furious about that, but I'm glad they are both there. We saw the importance in these last World Cup qualifiers. The forwards, Brandon Aronson's going to be classified as a forward. Brandon Aronson's on a great team at Salzburg, and that's going to benefit him. They won their Champions League game. I think they're in first place in their group. And because he's playing on that team, you can see that grow. Players that were on bad teams, Julian Green, Greuther Fürth is last place in Germany. Matt Miazga is on Alaves. They're in last place. And Josh Sargent, last place Norwich, nowhere close to scoring goals, did not make this team. Real quickly, we'll add Paul Arriola made it. I like it because he's a winger, a pure winger, and is fast. Matthew Hoppe gets in there. Ricardo Pepi, Tim Weah, and Jassi Zardes. So I talked about the forwards last week, and folks, I'm not here to say I am right, but I'm right about these things because I have seen it over the years. You get an idea of how teams are called in and what happens in the big picture based on what's happening. So if we scream about this guy getting in, I can tell you a good reason why he won't. I told you about Josh Sargent. I'm not here to pat myself on the back, but form matters. I told you about Jordan Pefok. He didn't make it. His form has been good, but I also said he doesn't quite fit into what Greg Berhalter wants to do. He didn't make this. Other forwards got in there. Matthew Hoppe probably took his spot there, and he deserves it. Jassi Zardes deserves it, and he has a great relationship with Greg Berhalter. I know people aren't happy about Jassi Zardes, but I guarantee you there's going to be a moment in these three qualifiers where you'll say, I'm glad he's there. Josh Sargent's got a long way to come back, but now the pressure's on him. He knows he has to make a response, but I truly believe this was a mistake for him to go to Norwich. That team is brutal. We talked about it last week. I won't get into it. I think Pepe is going to be the guy in the attack. Hoppe might be 1A. Way, I think, is going to project as a winger, although I'd like to see him as a forward. Real quickly, there's the lineup. I put a little I don't think this is going to look like it for the Jamaica game in Austin on the 7th, but maybe it looks kind of like this. I think Musa, now's the time. Put him in there. The midfield's really strong because of Weston McKennie. And to see this team look as good as that without Reyna and Pulisic is pretty remarkable. The U.S., I feel confident they can win all three of these games. I'm going to say they go 7 points. I don't think they're going to drop points here. I really don't. This is the easiest segment of qualifiers they have, and they should respond in a big way. I am very optimistic about this team, and there's so many hungry guys. It's a very balanced squad overall for Greg Berhalter. Greg Berhalter, is he the X and O coach, tactical genius? I don't know. Many of you think he is not. But one thing he is, he's a straight shooter here, and he engages with these players. And this is how he knows how to select it. I think he does well with the selection process. You could argue about Lletget, Roldan, Zardes. We saw it in September, man. These tried and tested, experienced players, MLS-based in this case, can deliver. Going to Europe isn't the one-all, end-all. Look at Brian Reynolds. Look at Reggie Cannon. Look at Josh Sargent right now. It's a tricky spot, and it shouldn't matter which league they plays for. And MLS is bailing us out here on some occasions. These guys are getting games because either A, you're going to Europe and not playing, or B, you're playing for really bad teams. And when I saw Brendan Aronson this week playing for a really good team, and you see the Gianluca Busio, I don't know if I made him, he made it in, and Berhalter was very, very positive about him because I love what he is doing. Playing at Venezia. I've watched some Venezia games. I don't know where Busio comes into these games because he's still a defensive liability. But I'd love to see him on a better team, but playing for Venezia, those defensive liabilities get exposed. Maybe the U.S. team, they don't. But he earned it. Luca de la Torre earned it. Similar type player. These young midfielders are getting a chance, and Berhalter likes them. So congratulations to all of them. Quick thought about Weston McKennie. And I think we mishandled this last time, and we threw the book at him. We didn't know what happened. We heard all sorts of stories. I heard Charlie Davies, who's a friend of mine, come out on CBS and compare what happened to him when he broke protocol with what Weston McKennie. I think that's very dangerous when you start doing that. And Greg Berhalter addressed that, and he said he was disappointed with the way people threw it about it, because I didn't want to throw anything. I didn't know. But when I heard he was going to go out for the remainder of the qualifiers, it said to me that it was pretty serious. But I am relieved that he's here, and now you have a young man who has a lesson learned. And I think it's little things. He just got to tighten things up. Like when he was in El Salvador and he was the one player to stop to take a photo. Stop it. All of that, it's got to be focused. But you don't want to get too focused because he's such an expressive player. You don't want to change that. Some guys get dialed in. Some guys are better. You know, like Joe Montana. He's like easygoing, but he's a killer when it comes to. You can't tell someone to be something they're not. Weston McKennie is that kind of guy, and I love it because I was that kind of guy in my athletic prowess, although he's a lot better than I ever was in any sport. But this team is excellent. They should deliver with all of this, injuries and red lists and players not playing. To get a team like this is going to be exciting. I think they keep it pretty close to the vest. The forward situation it's Ricardo Pepi's to gain. Tyler Adams was injured. He came back, so he's in that mix as well. Adams, McKennie, and whoever that third player is Musa. Brendan Aronson becomes a huge player in the front, I think, with Pepi and or Weah. Or Areola's going to play, man. Areola's going to play because he does a job. Coaches like that when you have coaches that do a job. Guys who got snubbed, Julian Green. Are we going to lose sleep because Julian Green's not on this team? He plays for a very bad team. He hasn't really distinguished himself. I keep seeing these videos of highlight reels of players showing how great they are. So I've sat there and I've watched these games. I've watched Venezia games, Greuther Fürth games, Alaves games. Folks, it's not pleasant. And you see the shortcomings of these players because of the team they play for, and because they're not the shortcomings, but not the fact that they're on par with these guys. It's a tough spot. Maybe they'd be better served if Julian Green was playing for the LA Galaxy. Wouldn't mind seeing that. Or LAFC. Conrad de la Fuente didn't make it. The way he plays with Marseille and the way he plays for the U.S. is very different. Again, square peg, round hole. He's not right. Give credit to Berhalter because he gave him an opportunity in September. Just because he's playing regularly for Marseille, you don't slot him in here. Nico Gioacchini not playing enough. I think that is okay. Pefok and Scally are the two big ones because of form. Pefok looks like a systematic thing, which is unfortunate for him because he's playing lights out. I think he scored in 3 games that he played in until the Champions League this week. And Joe Scally, just wet behind the ears. And we saw in September, you don't want too many young players. I'm very excited about it. Happy about Chris Richards. Happy about Gianluca Busio. U.S. men's national team. 3 big games. We will have recaps after each game. We'll have a show on Sunday to get you ready and preview those games as well. But feel confident. Things are looking good. Let's go. This is the fun part, folks. We'll be almost at the halfway point by October the 13th. Oh, yes, and subscribe. Subscribe! Come on, jump on board.